overall pick from a couple of years ago. It was a guy that everyone was watching at the draft, like who's gonna take the shot on him. There was some noise about whether he'd come over right away or whatever, and Danny Briere drafted him, and he came right over.
Right.
So they've got some nice young pieces. They've kind of they've remade a lot of that roster. Still some holdovers. Ristolainen back in the lineup for the first time all year just the other night. Last game they played, I think, was in Montreal. I was watching on Tuesday night. So our old friend Risto is back.
Good.
They've gotten decent goaltending mostly, I guess. So I don't know. I don't feel like that's a team that I was expecting to be this high in the standings, I guess. But, they made some moves and changed up their mix, and so far the results are pretty good.
Coaching change. Right. Rick Tocchet in charge now. Let's bring on Paul Hamilton from KeyBank Center, Sabres and Flyers tonight. Paul, what kind of, we're going to hear from these players I mentioned later on in the pregame show and Lindy Ruff. What has been your reaction to the reaction from within the team about this move, Kekäläinen?
Well, they all felt it was their fault. You say, look, we're the guys on the ice. The GM can only do so much, and we're the ones that failed, especially Lindy Ruff. Lindy Ruff was pretty down. It's like, I failed my GM. He goes, I didn't do the job, and it cost him his job. And he's basically was pretty down about it. And, as Tage Thompson said, he goes, this is a guy that believed in me before anybody else did. Gave him the contract. And, long before he was a 45-goal scorer, because, he said he believed in me. And he goes, that helped to kind of skyrocket his career and getting it going. Tuck just thanked him for bringing him to Buffalo, because he wanted to be a Sabre. And he goes, he's the guy that brought me to Buffalo and helped my career that way. So, but to a man, they pretty much felt that it was their fault that it happened. And, that's, because they're the people on the ice. And by the way, as you guys know, today's a radio-only game, and I see Rob Ray wandering around here, so you may hear from him just yell into the microphone or something at some point.
No, we can hope.
In the next half hour.
I'm expecting Rob to also blame himself for this change at the top. Right. Well, Paul, just to explain that, I mean, if you would expect players to say that. It feels appropriate and sensitive. Are they right? I mean, as you see it, did the roster underachieve exactly? Is that one way you would put this, or no?
Somewhat, but I just don't think enough was done. I mean, I've been talking for 2 years that they needed another top six forward. Now they got one in Norris, but then, I think they still needed another one because Peterka wanted to leave. So they didn't replace that. So they just don't have any depth at all when one of those guys up top of the lineup get hurt. And so I don't think enough has been done. It just seemed like, especially after the 13-game losing streak or winless streak, however you want to say, where nothing was done. I mean, he didn't even put somebody on waivers. I mean, he didn't get anybody from the minors. It just nothing. He froze. And he basically did again this year when they had one win in 9 games. And he just sat there again. And too much inactivity, not enough action, too much belief in this team. He had that one-off season where it's like he thought, well, automatically they're going to get better, so we're just going to keep everybody. And didn't do much. I mean, there have been other off seasons where he has done quite a bit, but it seems like whether he makes trades or he doesn't make trades or whatever, it just doesn't seem to work. It was basically a straight line in the bottom of the standings for 5.5 years. And that's not good enough. And there are times, as Kekäläinen said, he was pretty frank about it right off the bat. He's saying you need talent, but he also said you need character with that talent. And he goes, there have been too many nights where we played teams that we were better than, but we didn't put forth the effort, and they beat us. And he goes, that is inexcusable. I mean, he brought that up almost immediately when he sat down in the chair and talked to us. And that seemed to really be a bug in his bonnet and something that now I'm interested to see, all right, when it happens, what are you going to do about it?
That is an interesting tack for a new GM to take, to sort of point to effort. because that's different than just like the player's point. Nobody wants to embarrass anyone in these kind of moments. Like you don't want to say, well, yeah, we have a terrible roster. Everybody loses when you talk like that or anything close to that.
Well, he thinks it's the opposite. He thinks they have a good roster,
right,
and they shouldn't be playing like that.
Yeah, I've tried to get this across a time or two here recently, Paul. Like I think part of it is just riding the ride that is being a fan or even being in the media. Like analyzing the team, talking about the team. I don't want to give players a pass for underachieving or going into a game and not working. But I think it is hard to work anywhere. I would think, especially in professional sports where people are watching you, to feel good about the situation if you don't believe in it. If you, for whatever reason, if
right,
you're tired of being laughed at, your peers around the league. I still would love to know what Leon Draisaitl said to Tage Thompson after Thompson got that empty net goal against Edmonton a couple of weeks ago. Rob would never divulge it, and I just could only imagine Draisaitl just giving it to him. Like, congratulations on your empty net goal, you joke of a franchise. Something like that. I thought there was a reason why Rob didn't want to share on the air what he heard. Not because of swear words, but because maybe it was embarrassing. Like, that kind of stuff, I just think can really wear on people, on players. And so I hope that that's gone now. If it's not, then Jarmo Kekäläinen has really got his work cut out for him. But if it is, right, if the new broom sweeps clean and there's a breath of fresh air, maybe everybody can just get back to believing in it and really delivering on it more consistently. It's not to say that they're not going to get, have the odd game. But, boy, it better not come tonight, Paul. They've got everyone's attention. I don't know how full the building will be here for this game, but they made the move that everyone was waiting for. And what I sense within the fan base right now is a lot of people with their arms folded going, don't let me down tonight. Yeah. Please, give me a game that I can feel good about, that you guys are sort of, there's a new energy, and I don't want to get to the Phoenix Rising and get really hysterical here, but you know what I'm going for here. Like, look like you care that this change got made. Not that you feel guilty about the guy getting fired, because frankly, I think they all probably wanted a change. They've got it, so go make good.
Yeah, and at least they've got a little bit to build on now, where you've won 3 in a row for the first time all year. They've also won 9 of 15 games. In that stretch, it's the 10th best record. That's a points percentage of .600. But it gets back to what I've been saying for I don't know how long, is you've just dug such a hole for yourself. You've played .600 hockey for the last 15 games, and you have not passed one team. Not one. You took 6 out of 6 points recently on the road trip, and you didn't pass one team. You're still in last place in the Eastern Conference. And it gets back to what I've said all along. It's going to probably take a winning streak of double figures to get them in the race, if they ever can get back in the race. I mean, because you just can't count on 8 teams going in the tank for
right.
you. Even if you're hot, you might start passing some teams because it is tight. But to think that you're going to make it all the way back. And also, I've been on their best players for a lot of this year, but their best players have been their best players recently. In about maybe the last 6-7 games. Thompson, Norris. Norris has a point in every game since he's come back. Tuck, Dahlin, they've all played. Your best players are now playing like your best players. So let's fast forward to what you were just talking about here. You've got some things to build on. I liked how they defended a 2-1 lead in Seattle. Now I understand Seattle is on a bad streak right now. But they didn't give Seattle a bunch of breakaways where Lyon had to stand on his head. Lyon had to make a couple of real nice saves. But for the most part, they didn't give the puck away. Their puck management was excellent. And they didn't have too much of a problem holding a 2-1 lead for a lot of that game. And then they actually scored an empty netter, which they aren't real great at. And left there with a 3-1 lead. So there's some things they can build on to take into this game against Philadelphia.
Paul dropping a 6-7, and if you see Paul, don't let him fool you and tell you there was an accident earlier. By the way.
He knows what he's doing. He's signaling.
He knows what he's doing.
He is signaling people out there.
You give Paul a word to slip into our conversation, he's going to give it. He's going to say it. We won't know which word it was, but it's coming.
Paul, how much were you holding your breath when Norris crashed into the boards on that play in Seattle? I thought, oh no, this is it. That's the end of the line. But he got up and stayed in the game, and seemingly is fine.
I honestly don't think of those things when they happen. When the game's going on, I don't sit there and think so and so gets hurt a lot or that type of thing. So I'll be honest with you, it didn't occur to me at all.
All right.
That when it happens.
Why not? No, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I'm just relieved that he's okay because I do think any chance of this getting off the ground, especially while Kulik is still not anywhere to be heard from, they're going to need Norris. I mean, you opened here talking about another scoring forward. Norris is that guy if he can stay in the lineup and give them like point per game, which is really what he's been in his career. So that's a big piece if he can, continue to stay in the lineup and of course produce.
Yeah, and let's see. He has points in all 5 games he's played since coming back. And he has 8 points in those 5 games. 2 of them are goals. He got both goals, I think, in the first game back. But he also has, the assists, 6 assists to go with it. So he has 8 points in 5 games. I don't think you can expect much more from Norris than 8 points in 5 games.
No, same. How about a quick look at Philly from your perspective here, Paul? Mike and I were talking about them a little bit as you were getting ready to join us as we turn our attention to our spotlight look at tonight's opponent, brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey. When it's game time, it's Tully time.
Well, the Flyers have lost 3 of 4, but they are in the Metropolitan Division in 3rd place, and I told you the Sabres have won 9 out of 15 games, a 600 points percentage in their last 15. The Flyers are 633 in that time frame. Mm-hmm. So even with losing 3 out of 4 games, they've played 633 hockey in the same time the Sabres have played 600, which would have been 7th in the league. So overall, they've played some pretty good hockey. You went over the goaltending. I don't know if Vladar's numbers are better than Urson's, but Urson plays well against the Sabres. He earned the win in Philadelphia against Buffalo, and he'll be back in that against them tonight. And Ristolainen, as you mentioned, is back in against the Sabres. That could help the Sabres if I'm not trying to be a jerk. I guess I am by saying that.
Sure, yeah.
Just
we're all thinking it anyways.
I've
Paul,
watched that player long enough to know that
yeah.
it could turn against the Flyers. So we'll see how that goes.
Who's in net for the Sabres? Did you say?
Lyon.
It'll be Alex Lyon.
Okay.
Now, interestingly enough, you got 2 goalies on 2 different streaks. Lyon, as you know, has played in the last 4 games, gone 3-0. Now, he hadn't won a game, if you recall, since October against Toronto until he won those 3 games. His goals against is 2.01 in the last 4 and a .929 save percentage. But Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and this is an anomaly. He hasn't done this through his whole career. At home this year is 4-1-0 with a 1.97 and a .921 save percentage. On the road, he's horrendous. He's 0-4-1, .397 and .843. Don't ask me to explain it. I can't.
Yeah.
I know the team probably plays a little bit better at home, but if you look at his numbers over his career, they're pretty even whether it's home or on the road. But it's really different. Now, of course, I would go with Lyon with the way he's played in the last 4. But, Luukkonen at home is pretty tough, too.
Right. How about the lineup, Paul? We hear Kesselring is coming back. That's certainly welcome. But now Timmins is a game time, it sounds like.
Yeah, Lindy said he wasn't out there this morning for the morning skate, and he said he's game time decision. They had to decide, they knew Kesselring was going to play, so they had to figure that out. And so you get one back, you may lose the other one, which would keep Bryson in the lineup if that happens. If not, if Timmins is ready to go, then Bryson heads to the bench.
Thanks, Paul. Enjoy the game.
Yep. Take care, guys.
It's a big upgrade.
What's that?